let me tell you the hard truth. Getting rich isn't complicated. It's not a secret locked away in a vault or hidden in the algorithms of the elite. Wealth is brutally simple. The reason most people die poor isn't because the path is too difficult. It's because they can't face the brutal part. They want power to be gentle, ethical, and kind. They want to work moderately, complain constantly, and expect the world to just hand them gold for their obedience. This is a fantasy, and fantasies keep you weak. Niccolò Machiavelli, the architect of political realism, understood this centuries ago. He saw that power, and money is simply crystallized power, doesn't flow to those who wish the world were different. It flows to those who see reality as it is, a battlefield of competing interests driven by fear and desire. So, let's start dissecting this. Forget the comforting lies society feeds you about hard work leading to success. Forget the motivational slogans telling you to dream big. These narratives are opiates for the masses, designed to keep you docile, compliant, and stagnant. Wealth doesn't come to the dreamer waiting for salvation. It comes to the strategist willing to play the game as it truly exists, a game of control, leverage, and psychological dominance. The simplicity is the strategy. The brutality is the execution. Are you ready to see the board? Here is the first brutal truth. You are likely poor because you are predictable. Look at your life. You wake up at the same time, consume the same media, perform the same tasks at a job you tolerate, complain to the same people, return home, numb yourself with entertainment, and repeat. This routine feels safe, it feels comfortable, but comfort is a sedative, and sedation kills ambition. Do you genuinely believe the system wants you to be wealthy? The system doesn't want you rich. It wants you manageable. Predictable people can be taxed efficiently, marketed to effectively, and manipulated effortlessly. Machiavelli would ridicule this adherence to routine. He knew that the foundation of power is seeing the chessboard clearly, not hoping the pieces move in your favor. You hope your boss recognizes your effort. You hope the economy stabilizes. You hope that being a good person will attract money. Hope is not a strategy, it is the resignation of control. The reality is this: the person who owns the system gets rich. The person who operates within the system stays enslaved. This brings us to the root of your conditioning, the script. From the moment you entered the educational system, you were not trained to think critically, you were trained to comply. The system doesn't fail by neglecting to teach you about money, leverage, or equity. It succeeds brilliantly in teaching you obedience. Think about it. You are rewarded for sitting still, raising your hand, memorizing approved facts, and regurgitating them on command. You are punished for deviation, for questioning authority, for risk. This is not preparation for wealth. This is preparation for servitude. It is an industrial process designed to produce compliant workers, not sovereign individuals. Machiavelli understood that systems are built to serve those at the top, the rulers, the elites, the owners of capital. They do not want competition. They want you believing that your modest salary, your 2 weeks of vacation, and your illusion of security are the pinnacles of achievement. They want you focused on the scraps while they own the feast. When I say getting rich is brutally simple, I mean this. The hardest part is not learning what to do. It is unlearning the psychological conditioning that paralyzes you. You must recognize the script that has been implanted in your consciousness since childhood and decide to burn it. The script tells you to avoid debt, save your money in a bank, and wait 40 years for retirement. The script is a blueprint for mediocrity, and if you follow it, your life will be defined by what you lack, not what you control. The path to wealth requires a fundamental inversion of how you perceive reality. The rules of the poor say, work, save, and pray. The rules of the rich say, own, control, and multiply. Let's visualize this divergence. Imagine two individuals. The first embraces the script. He secures a respectable 9-to-5 job. He is diligent. Every month he saves 10% of his paycheck, dutifully placing it into a low-yield savings account, hoping that compound interest will somehow save him. He avoids risk. He prioritizes safety. The second individual recognizes the script as a trap. He takes the same energy, the same intelligence, but channels it into acquiring high-leverage skills, sales, coding, persuasion. He builds a business. He learns how to sell not just a product, but a vision. He embraces calculated risk. 10 years later, the first person has a slightly larger savings account, a tired body, and a deep-seated anxiety about his future. He is one redundancy away from ruin. The second person owns assets. He controls cash flow. He possesses freedom. Same decade, same effort, but radically different outcomes. Why? One played by rules designed for safety, the other played by rules designed for power. This difference is rooted in psychology. People are terrified of risk. They fear failure and social judgment more intensely than they desire success and autonomy. This fear keeps them locked in self-constructed cages. They cling to the idea of stability, failing to realize that stability is the grandest illusion of all. Jobs vanish. Economies collapse. Inflation is a silent theft, eroding your savings every second. In a world of constant flux, the safe path is the riskiest path of all. It guarantees a slow decay into irrelevance. Machiavelli wrote extensively about fortuna, luck or circumstance, and virtù, prowess, agency, strength. He argued that while fortune controls half of human affairs, the other half is left to our own control. The poor outsource their lives to fortune. They wait for the lottery win, the promotion, the lucky break. The rich cultivate virtù. They build dams to control the river of fortune. If you want wealth, you must flip your mindset. Instead of asking, what is safe? You must ask, what gives me control? Instead of asking, what if I fail? You must ask, what is the cost of inaction? This shift is profound, but let's go deeper. Why do people remain trapped even when they understand this intellectually? Because they confuse activity with progress. They work hard, yes, they hustle, yes, but they hustle in the wrong direction. They pour their energy into jobs that cap their upside, into habits that numb their ambition, and into relationships that drain their focus. They are running on a treadmill, burning calories, but going nowhere. Getting rich is brutally simple because it follows a straight line. Identify where value flows. Position yourself at the choke point. Capture the value. Protect it. Multiply it. That's it. The challenge is not the complexity of the steps, but the courage required to execute them relentlessly, day after day, while the world tells you to slow down and be realistic. By now you understand that wealth is not a byproduct of luck or endless labor. It is a result of control, leverage, and the refusal to follow the script. But understanding the philosophy is insufficient. You need the strategy. Here is the reality you must accept. Money is war. It is not a war fought with guns and bombs, but a war of ideas, influence, attention, and resource allocation. And just like in war, those who hesitate, those who fear, those who cling to the illusion of safety are crushed. Machiavelli knew this. He stated, "Fortune favors the bold, but only when the bold are prepared." If you enter the arena of wealth without a strategy, you will be consumed. But if you enter with knowledge, tactics, and a willingness to fight, you win. To win this war, you must adhere to the 5 imperatives of control. These are not suggestions. They are the laws of acquisition. The first imperative, the seizure of equity. You must own something. Do not merely work for something. The poor trade time for money. The rich trade ownership for power. This is the brutal divide. If your income is directly tied to your hours, you are capped. You are vulnerable. Ownership, equity, is infinite. When you own a business, a patent, a piece of real estate, or a scalable product, you are no longer limited by the clock. You are limited only by your ambition and your strategy. You don't need to build Amazon, but you must transition from selling your life by the hour to owning the mechanisms that generate value. The second imperative, the manipulation of desire. Most people make decisions based on emotion, not logic. They crave status, validation, belonging, and the illusion of superiority. The rich understand this fundamental human weakness and exploit it. They do not sell products, they sell dreams. They do not sell items, they sell identity. A $500 luxury shirt provides the same utility as a $10 shirt, but people pay the premium because it makes them feel important. Machiavelli asserted that men are driven by fear and desire. To accumulate wealth, you must master both. Make the market fear missing out on what you offer. Make them desire what only you can provide. When you control desire, you control the flow of money. The third imperative, the construction of systems. A job pays you once for your effort. A system pays you forever. A system is an automated process, an online business, a sales funnel, a rental property portfolio, an investment algorithm. Once built, it operates with minimal input, generating revenue while you sleep. The poor think in tasks. The rich think in systems. They build once, profit indefinitely. This is leverage. Leverage is the art of getting more output than the input you provide. Wealth is not about working harder. It is about building structures that work without you. The fourth imperative, the mastery of appearance. Machiavelli wrote that appearances often matter more than reality. Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. In the war of wealth, perception is power. If you are perceived as successful, competent, and powerful, opportunities gravitate toward you. Doors open, capital flows. This is why confidence attracts wealth and desperation repels it. You must master the art of signaling strength, even when you are vulnerable. This is not about fake watches. It is about projecting an image of control and inevitability. The fifth imperative, the lion and the fox. To succeed in the acquisition of power, Machiavelli advised the prince to emulate both the lion and the fox. The lion frightens the wolves, force, and the fox recognizes the traps, cunning. Wealth accumulation requires both. You need the force, the discipline, the resilience, the willingness to take aggressive action and dominate your niche. But you also need the cunning, the ability to negotiate, to persuade, to navigate the complex legal and financial landscapes, and to identify threats before they materialize. Force without cunning leads to ruin. Cunning without force leads to weakness. These imperatives are the battlefield manual, but most people will read this, feel a temporary surge of motivation, and then regress to the mean. They will say, "It's too risky," or "It's unethical," and in that moment, they surrender their agency. If you are still listening, it means you recognize the truth in this brutality. But let me warn you, the hardest part is not the acquisition of wealth. It is what comes after. When you begin to rise above the herd, you become a target. People will envy you. They will resent your success. They will label you lucky, greedy, or corrupt. They will attempt to pull you back down into the comfort of mediocrity because your success is a mirror reflecting their failure. This is the price of stepping out of the system. Machiavelli warned us long ago. If you seek power, you must be prepared for enemies. Wealth is no different, but the external threats are manageable. The internal threats are far more insidious. Wealth changes you. It amplifies your desires and exposes your weaknesses. Here is the forbidden insight. Making money is hard, but keeping it requires a different kind of ruthlessness. Wealth attracts leeches, predators, and betrayers. Fake friends who desire proximity to your resources. Family members who suddenly demand support. Business partners who become greedy. If you are naive, if you operate on trust rather than verification, they will drain you dry. Machiavelli warned rulers about this. He said, "A prince must learn how not to be good. He must know how to be ruthless when necessity demands it, how to protect himself against betrayal." The same is true with money. You must guard your wealth like a fortress. You use contracts, legal structures, accountants, and layers of protection to shield your assets. You do not show weakness, because weakness invites attack. Furthermore, wealth will test your discipline. The moment you achieve success, the temptation to signal that success will be overwhelming. Flashy cars, expensive toys, the pursuit of status. This is the trap of the newly rich, who confuse the symbols of wealth with wealth itself. They spend for status instead of strategy. The truly wealthy do not buy liabilities, they acquire assets. They do not seek approval, they secure freedom. The brutality is not just the fight to the top, it is the constant vigilance required to stay there. We have torn away the illusions, we have exposed the script, we have detailed the imperatives of control. Now we arrive at the final and most brutal truth. Knowledge is useless without action. You can consume endless information about wealth, but if you never pull the trigger, you remain enslaved. Machiavelli understood that power demands decisive action. Fortune is like a river. It can flood and destroy those who sit idle, but it can be harnessed by those who prepare and act. So, what does action look like? It is not contemplation, it is execution. First, forge your weapon. Select one high-leverage skill, persuasion, sales, code, negotiation, and sharpen it daily until you are world-class. Mastery creates control, and control attracts money. Second, shift your paradigm from worker to owner. Stop asking, "How much can I earn per hour?" Start asking, "How can I build something that earns forever?" This single shift is the doorway to power. Third, embrace the brutality. Getting rich will hurt. It will isolate you. It will test your resilience, your courage, your very identity. The world will resist you because you are breaking free from its chains. This is the price. Freedom is on the other side. Fourth, protect your fortress. Expect betrayal. Use contracts. Enforce boundaries. Stay vigilant. Build walls around your wealth so it serves you and your legacy, not the leeches. Here is where it gets real. Most will hear this and return to the comfort of their sedation. They will scroll their phones, complain about the system, and repeat the cycle tomorrow. And that is why wealth is rare. Not because it is complicated, but because most do not have the stomach for the discipline and the brutality required. So ask yourself, which side will you be on? The predictable masses living in comfort until the system consumes them, or the rare few who face reality head-on, who risk, who fight, who build, who win? The world does not reward the dreamer, it rewards the doer. Getting rich is not complicated, it is brutally simple. The only question remaining is, are you willing to face the brutal part?